Hello, I'm William Michael of the Classical Liberal Arts Academy, and in response to a couple of conversations that I've had recently, I'd like to share some advice and experience, not necessarily as headmaster of the Classical Liberal Arts Academy, but as a homeschooling father who has 25 years of experience working with homeschooled children of my own. My oldest is 25, my youngest is 10. My wife and I have been at work as homeschooling parents for 25 years. So I've been through a lot. I've experienced a lot. I've been working in education the entire time, so I've been working with other families, have seen many different situations. And what often happens, very commonly happens, is that families fall behind for whatever the reasons may be. There are many different reasons why a family may fall behind with homeschooling. Sometimes there's family business to take care of. Sometimes there are problems or tragedies in a family. Whatever the reasons may be, things just fall behind, and the kids may fall behind, and it may be difficult to have any progress or any consistent daily studies for an extended period of time, and there may really be nothing that the parents can do about it. But then the parents find themselves in a situation where they've fallen behind, and it's very challenging, it's very stressful. And so I'd like to talk a little bit about what to do if and when you fall behind for whatever the reason may be. And the reasons are really not important. What matters is moving forward and having a plan for how to do so. Now, what most homeschooling parents that I talk to think about doing when they've fallen behind, they start talking about going back to where things were good and picking up where they left off. So it may be multiple years worth of study that have been affected, and parents are often tempted to say, we're going to go back. We were in third grade, everything was going well, and then this happened, and my mother got sick, and our parents had to move in with us for a time, and my husband lost his job, and I was pregnant with our fifth child, and all these things came together at the same time. So what we're going to do is we're going to back up and go back to when things were good and pick up there. And that's a common solution that parents propose. And I don't recommend that parents do that. I don't recommend that homeschooling parents think to catch up by actually backing up. I don't think that that's wise for a number of reasons. First of all, at grade levels, even if your child has not done well with studies because of these whatever the cause may be, the child is still growing. The child is still growing in experience. The child is still growing in physical strength. The child is still growing intellectually, just not at a pace that he or she may have been able to grow at. So the child is still growing, especially in experience. And it's not like the child stopped developing wherever you left off in orderly studies. So don't go crazy. The child has continued to grow and develop. But what will happen if you try to go back, you're going to create a very awkward situation. First of all, morale is a real concern in education. Sorry, I've got a bunch of messages coming in. Let me turn this off. Morale is a big concern in education. If we make decisions that are embarrassing to our children, that make them uncomfortable, they'll begin to hate education and just wish they could get away from it because it's a source of embarrassment. So for example, if you've got a child who you're working with and you're working at a third grade level, but the child's 12 years old, The child should be in sixth grade, let's say, but really the child is working in third grade because you've chosen to go back to pick up where you left off, as it were. And you're at the grocery store or with relatives or with other friends, and someone asks the poor kid, what grade are you in? Just being friendly, what grade are you in? For that child to have to say, oh, I'm 12 years old, but I'm in third grade, is really humiliating. And there's no reason to do that. And it really destroys morale for studies for that child. You should take into consideration the effects of your decision on the child's thoughts about education, the child's development of self-confidence and ability to develop social. There's more to this than just academics, so be very careful with that. Don't put the kid in a painful, embarrassing situation, especially when it's not the kid's fault. So don't do that. Don't back up. Secondly, one of the reasons why you're behind is because you haven't been consistent. So coming up with a plan that requires extended periods of even greater consistency is, again, not a very good idea, right? That's the problem. We haven't been consistent, so we shouldn't double down on a plan that requires more consistency. That's the problem that we're having. So don't do that. What I recommend is this. Wherever you're at, no matter how bad the situation is, and usually parents exaggerate it, no matter how bad the situation is, don't back up. Just calm down. The first thing that you should do is schedule to take a standardized test. Schedule a standardized test at your child's age-based grade level. So if your child is 12 years old, prepare for a sixth grade standardized test. Just get the test done and get some numbers, get some feedback, be able to look and see where the child is really weak, where the child may be strong, where the child may be okay, and at least you've got a starting point. And you can pick up at that grade level from where you're at. Even if the numbers are low, even if the scores are terrible, it's still your grade level scores. It's going to be difficult to go back. So if you're going to have difficulty, if you're going to work hard and struggle, what I recommend is you work hard and struggle at your grade level. What's done in modern schools at these different grade levels is not very great. So it's not like if you fall behind 3 years, you're actually 540 days worth of work behind and you've got to now go back. No, that's not how school even works. Most grade levels consist of a year of new material followed by a year of review. So you're always doing this sort of cycle through the content. So it's not that big of a deal. Don't overreact or overcompensate when you've fallen behind. So take a grade level standardized test where the kid's at right now and just get those numbers. In the Classical Liberal Arts Academy, we offer standardized testing all year round. You can sign up anytime. That's what I would recommend you do. As for moving forward, start at the child's present grade level. Start at the child's present grade level. Now, this gets tricky if you're in high school because you've got to think about a high school transcript and all that, but listen, if you're really struggling with schooling and your child's a year or more behind of where he or she should be, you're going to have to make adjustments for college anyway. And what I would recommend is just plan on going to a community college to get started and sort of get things organized that way. But if you're really behind, you're not going to end up with a normal transcript necessarily, and you don't need to pressure yourself to do that. I know some families that try to make things look normal, and they end up with 22-year-old kids at home with no high school diploma. And these aren't necessarily CLA students. These are students that I either learn of by Catholic connections we have, or they come to the CLA trying to fix these problems, and it's a real mess. You should never get into that situation. There's no reason to be in that situation in the first place. I just had a boy contact me last week who's 18 years old, and he's trying to sign up for sophomore level high school courses because he's behind. And I told him, you're 18 years old. You shouldn't be signing up for 10th grade high school courses. So I don't recommend trying to go back or trying to make things look normal. You've got to realize that you're going to have some counsel as to how to move forward. But there's lots of ways to do that. There's not just one way. You don't have to get yourself back onto that one path. There are lots of ways to do these things, to pursue college studies, and be in great shape down the road. But the first thing to do is to take a standardized test and just get those numbers in your records so you have them, and say, once we get this testing done, we're picking up at grade level and moving forward. Then, after having done that, what I recommend is just enrolling the child in grade level studies. Enroll the child in grade level studies. And you may say, oh, but my child is behind, he's going to struggle, he's going to have to work really hard, he may not get good grades. That's okay. That's okay. You're already in a bad situation. Delaying that grade level study risks making things even worse. So my advice is just get into your grade level studies and get going and work hard and help the kids. Provide the kids with tutoring help if they need it. Help the kids to work. You've got all year as a homeschooling family. You're not limited to the school year. Just get back on grade level. And again, that's important for morale. So if someone asks your child, what grade are you in? The child can say, I'm 12 years old. I'm in 6th grade. He may be struggling in 6th grade. That's okay. Lots of kids are struggling in 6th grade. But to create that unnecessary, embarrassing situation is just not necessary. It really doesn't do any good, and I wouldn't recommend that. No one's going to care in the long run. So take the standardized test at the current grade level, let's say for the previous year, the previous grade level, and then get the kid into his grade level studies. It's going to be difficult, but the good news is, if it is difficult, there's motivation to work because you have an opportunity to get back on grade level. If your grades are low, that's okay. You're still back on grade level. And if you start working now and are consistent moving forward, you can just make incremental progress and get yourself into a good position in a couple of years. But that's what I would recommend. And I really want to discourage parents against going back to where we left off, backing up, say, oh, my daughter doesn't know her multiplication fact, so we're going to go back to 2nd grade where they study multiplication. There's no need to do that. You can just drill multiplication facts and do that as the child gets moving in their own grade level. But don't take this course of action where you go back to where you left off, because you're just going to lose more time and make things even worse. Now, if you'd like to do this in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy, there's a number of reasons why it's good to do that. First of all of our courses are self-paced. They're available year-round. Help is always available, and so on. You've got 2 experienced homeschool parents managing the program who understand that sometimes things are just not our fault. We have other responsibilities. I'm not just a father to my children. I'm also a son to my parents. Last year, my mother had a stroke, and my entire life was put on hold until my mother was safe and back to somewhat of a normal life. So that's real life. Those are the 10 Commandments. We have a lot more to take care of than just education. We've got to provide for our families. All kinds of things come up. There's a lot more to the Christian life than just selfishly focusing on our own academic progress. So we understand that these things come up, and our program is flexible and forgiving and allows families to be able to make those adjustments and get started and raise scores and do things in a way that can allow you to overcome those problems. So again, just to summarize, don't go back, don't set yourself further back, don't embarrass your children. Take a standardized test to just establish a starting point, get that feedback, enroll the kids in their current grade level courses, and then work your tail off to get back on track. If you need help, more detail on working that out, we're always available to help. Another thing that I would like to do, I'd like to actually run this by parents, is schedule a weekly Zoom meeting that's just sort of an open conversation for practical discussion and advice for homeschooling parents. If you're interested in that, let me know, and I'll start scheduling a weekly Zoom meeting, maybe later on a Wednesday night, like 9 p.m. Eastern Time, when families can get the kids down and settled and then have some time to talk. But I'm willing to put that time in to help parents with homeschooling. But again, I just want to advise parents to avoid making that mistake, which is very common and seems reasonable, but really it's not a good idea and can make the problem even worse. So if you'd like to talk about this more with your unique circumstances, get in touch. But that's my advice. I hope that's helpful. God bless.